Welcome to our second episode. I'm so excited you're here today as I introduce Sarah Welsh of Hanx. Now, Sarah and her business partner Farah set up this unique sexual wellness brand after a lunchtime meetup where Farah told an embarrassing tale. They then realised there was a gap in the market which would allow them to build a business they were passionate about while also embracing their skills in medicine and finance. Since then, they've gone on a journey that has taken resilience and persuasion to get investment and break down barriers in what is still considered a taboo industry. I just have to mention that we had a little technical trouble with the audio, but the content is golden, so I hope you bear with us through this fantastic interview. So let's get into it. What if the smallest decisions we make as business owners and consumers could have a lasting impact in the world? This is what we question here at the Business of Universal Kindness podcast. If you're curious about living more naturally by choosing products that are kind to humans, the planet, and the creatures that we share it with, then keep listening. And if you're operating a business that creates these types of products, then pull up a chair because we're about to find out what it takes to build a company that makes money and does some good in the world too. I'm your host, Sarah Henson, email strategist to mission-driven e-commerce companies. Join me on this journey as we explore what it means to take radical responsibility for our choices while also making an impact that can change the world. Because universal kindness is everybody's business. Okay, Sarah, thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. Welcome to the Business of Universal Kindness.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So I guess we should start from the beginning of Hanx. So Hanx is a company that you started in 2017. Can you tell the audience a little more about what you produce?
Yeah, of course. So Hanx is a sexual wellness brand. We say at the end of 2017, we sell condoms and we launched the condoms and we also sell a lubricant now. So we myself and my co-founder Farah, realised that there was no real kind of condom brand that was accessible, talking to people like us, but also the ingredients inside the condoms were not particularly kind to women in lots of cases. And also the kind of taboo surrounding condom use was really negative, although we found that a lot of our friends were moving from hormones onto kind of non-hormonal options such as condoms. So we thought let's change this and let's really kind of open up the market and make a kind of open and honest platform for sexual wellness.
That's amazing. So for people who don't really understand in terms of the kind of ingredients and the stuff you use to make the condoms, can you say a little bit more about what's different about Hanx condoms in terms of like sustainability? They're labeled as vegan as well. What a lot of people, I would imagine, wouldn't really think about, are my condoms vegan? So what is it about yours in particular that make them so great?
Actually, when we looked into the market, we weren't aware that there was a lot of kind of ingredients going inside these condoms that weren't particularly kind to our bodies. So my background's in medicine, so I worked as a gynecology doctor and I was working in sexual health clinic, so seeing lots of women coming in with irritation down below because of products they were using. So I was a lot more kind of savvy to this than perhaps most people. So so our condoms are made from latex, so obviously in its rawest, most natural form from a plant. But in condom production, a lot of the time, lots of chemicals and kind of extras are added. So lots of condom brands use casein, which is an animal byproduct in production. We don't use that. So we're certified vegan. We also don't use things like spermicides or anesthetics, which again, a lot of other condom brands do. They can irritate people, and also, it's unnecessary ingredients. So we kind of remove all of those nasties. Also, therefore, biodegradable and sustainable.
So when you say biodegradable, so you mean you can throw that in your composter?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. That's such a great thing to be able to do, because this is one of the things of like, what do you do with a condom after it's used? It just go to landfill and lay there forever? It's not a great idea, but to be able to just stick it in your composter and know that it's actually going to be recycled through the earth is fantastic. So tell me a little bit more about how you and Farah met then, please.
Yeah, so we actually went to school together in the north of England. We then went our separate ways. So obviously we continue to be friends, but Farah went into finance and worked in investment banking. I went into medicine and was working in kind of female health. At the time, we thought of the idea. So we'd kind of been doing our own careers for kind of 6-7 years before we thought about making condoms, really. We had one random lunch where Barry bumped into her boss buying condoms and was absolutely mortified by the whole experience. She had a bright red pack in her hand and she felt like promiscuous, and all these kind of negative connotations were conjured up. And actually, we were saying how ridiculous it is that we feel that way about buying condoms when actually we're taking control of our sexual health. We're empowered. We're don't want to use hormones because then they don't fit with our bodies well, or whatever reason. But there is still this kind of cultural taboo around and stigma around condom use. So we started talking about the condom market and how it hadn't really changed in decades. And actually, I was seeing women in clinics who were having recurrent thrush or irritation down below because of products they were using, and also the rise of really difficult to treat STIs, and that being a huge public health problem. So we kind of saw all these problems and decided we want to change it.
When some people think about having a big idea and like taking it forward, quite often it's something that gets talked about and not actually action. So what was the point in, you were having lunch and talking about it? It's that you obviously both had the thought, oh, this is an amazing idea, we should do this. But at what point did the trigger like become the reality, where it was like, okay, this is actually happening now?
Yeah, and we're actually doing this. But we got so excited about the potential of the brand and what we could do to change things. So it just that was obviously the seed was planted, and we were talking about it daily. And obviously we were working full time in our respective jobs. So we were doing this evenings, nights, weekends, whenever we were working. So it took a lot of research as well, because we're a medical device, to kind of really figure out exactly what we wanted and what we needed. And I think we were just so passionate about the potential of of building something like this, that we just didn't stop talking about it, researching it, figuring out what it would look like, what it would be, all these different things. So at which point it just kind of escalated.
Yeah. So for any e-commerce store owners, or for people who have got an idea who want to actually bring it to reality, and are listening to this and thinking, okay, I've got my big idea, but how am I supposed to get started on this? What were the steps that you took? Like, what were the major kind of turning points for you in this journey? Like, what was the first thing to do? Is like source someone who could make them for you?
We researched the market initially, thinking, obviously we think there's a demand here, but is there actually? Let's put some surveys out. And we used my medical community and a lot of friends and family and contacts to push out a survey to get data about what we would, if we were to put our jobs and put our life savings into condoms, what would that look like? So we did that first, and then we had kind of quite a clear idea of what we needed to do. We did a lot of research and kind of going to the British Library to like figure out what the stats were out there. Is this a viable plan? And just kind of pivoting, talking to lots of people. As I said, we're a medical device, so we have to have CE certification to sell, and obviously all the right kind of procedures of testing to go through. So we kind of researched heavily different manufacturers, figured out what was suitable, whether people could do what we wanted them to do, whether we could get the vegan certification, all of these things, the fair trade latex, all of the things that we needed for our vision, which took a long time, I have to say. And then so a lot of talking about it, a lot of support from friends, family, got mentors at a co-working space. And basically that was a really big turning point for us in terms of growing the business.
Yeah. So did you have... right now I'm imagining that you've got someone like, from the Dragon's Den behind you, helping you out in terms of giving you guidance and what things to do next. Is that the kind of thing that you're talking about, having mentors in the space?
Yeah, we did. We started off and we just kind of bootstrapped, but we had really good mentors who kind of, guided us, helped us. Our background wasn't in startups or business, so we really needed that kind of guidance and community support as well. So it was, I don't know why I keep forgetting the name, but basically Huckletree's co-working space, they have an alpha program, which is like a they don't take equity or anything. It's their way of giving back to startups.
Oh, right. Okay. So we'll link that in the show notes. So is that open to anybody to kind of, do you have to tick certain boxes for you to be able to apply to get help from them?
Yeah, exactly. It's like an accelerator program. That's the word I was looking for. Accelerator program. So they kind of select startups that are suitable at a suitable stage that they can support and help gain investment, but also they have great sessions around kind of marketing and business planning and everything in between, really.
So I imagine this was quite a big endeavor for you and Farah to kind of throw yourselves into. You mentioned about, giving up your work and then eventually giving up your work and, putting life savings into this. Did you manage to find investors to help you out through this?
Yeah, so we're really lucky to have a great bunch of angel investors on board. And again, the Accelerator Equity helped kind of tiers to pitch to type of people, but a lot of networking and contacts of contacts and getting our name and business out there. So yeah, we've got a group of angel investors that have kind of backed.
And do you work? I mean, obviously, we're recording this in the midst of the COVID-19 outbreak and all the craziness that's going on right now. So, do you work remotely for you and Farah? How does it work in terms of the logistics for your business?
Yeah, we actually still are at Huckletree, which again is a co-working space, but we're at the moment working from home, obviously. So we're quite lucky in that we're a small, lean team where a lot of our work can be done remotely. A lot of our meetings are now through kind of Zoom, Google Hangouts. We're just adapting, but as a lean company, it's quite easy to do that.
And what do you find, because obviously you and Farah have been friends for a long time, what do you both bring to the table in terms of like, she might be more into doing the marketing side and you're into, product development or something. What is it? How does that look in terms of your responsibilities, or is it an equal share of like, you just kind of like put both your brains together and something happens?
Yeah, I mean, we do kind of gel really well as a team and as a duo because we're quite different in our skill set and the way we manage things. So Farah tends to do she does the accounting and finance side of things because she is a chartered accountant and very handy numbers head. So she does that and she kind of heads up the investment raising as well. I tend to do more of the marketing, product development, but also we both do a bit of sales as well because that's a large part of the business. But we're always supporting each other, but we've got quite defined, clear roles.
So when you eventually launched the product, how long have you actually been on the market now, actually, with a viable product?
Yeah, so our condoms have been around since the end of 2017, so 2 and a bit years. Our lubricant launched in October last year, so that's a little bit newer. We've got different size packs of our condoms and then our 50ml lubricant.
Nice. So what did it take for you to actually launch the business in terms of getting people to know what you were doing, who you were, and that this product was available? Because I'm assuming that did you start out getting your product into stores? Because I know Boots now stock it, don't they?
Yeah, so actually we started off focusing online and that's still the main part of our business. But yeah, so we had a few small boutiques. So we wanted, again, to kind of disrupt that kind of sales channel around buying condoms. We were launched in nail salons and wellbeing centres and lingerie shops, but small boutiques and online. And we've continued that. But like you say, we launched in Boots last year, and actually that's been a real big move for us because we realised we actually do, as a medical device, we need to be on shelf to earn that trust. And also it's often an impulse purchase. So we need to be out in the big shops like Boots. So that's been a really exciting move for us.
So in terms of the journey so far for you, what has been your biggest challenge then that you face, whether either for yourself personally or as you and Farah as a partnership?
Yeah, there's been lots. I think obviously investment raising has been tough. It's we're quite a taboo industry, and it's kind of overcoming those. And like I said, we've got a great bunch of people on board that have invested in us because they understand the vision and see the real potential. But we kind of had to teach us how to pitch to investors. but also I think the transition as well from being, working in hospitals to working at startups very different. Making sure that we manage our time appropriately and are efficient and effective when you're not in and Farah was in a big corporate before, so it's quite different. So that was a challenge, and just being patient with things. As I think when we launched, we're like, right, we should be in all the shops now. We should be all over on, everyone should be buying us. And actually, things take longer. Even just developing the product, like things take longer than you expect. So just kind of, yeah.
Yes. What was the timeline then from idea to getting an actual either a prototype and then launching? How long did that process take for you?
About a year and a bit.
Yeah, that's it's not that long, but when you've got a dream and a vision to like launch something big and you're so excited about it, can feel quite a long time, can't it? How did you keep going during those times through all of the challenges to get this product launched?
I mean, I think I'm very lucky in that Farah and I were in it together, and we kind of both understood, we were in it together. And although I've got a really supportive family and husband and friends, they don't quite understand it as much as if you're in it. Whereas Farah and I were constantly supporting each other, and if I was having a bit of a down day, she would pick me up, and vice versa. And I think we just kept being driven by the passion for what we were building.
Well, I think that sounds great that it's almost like you've got a built-in accountability partner, really.
Exactly, it is.
So in terms of marketing channels, I mean, you know that I'm an email marketer, and it's quite a passion of mine of understanding how people are using marketing channels to, get their product out into the world and get people talking about it, because that is the thing, is that if it's a product that makes a difference, that's got a mission behind it, it almost has a life of itself in terms of marketing. But what have you found has been for you the most successful channel so far for you to be marketing in?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of pivoting a lot, and a lot is online. And like you say, emails have been very powerful, kind of building our email subscriber list and kind of explaining who we are and what we do, which is social media has also been pivotal in that. It's been great to be able to, through social. They're kind of definitely big channels for us. I think Boots has been a marketing channel in itself as well. But as a brand, for a brand like ours, we're really opening that conversation around sexual wellness and kind of being, not glossing over the realities. We're being honest about sexual wellness and kind of saying, actually, we should have transparency in ingredients. We should be able to understand what we're putting on and in our bodies. So kind of having a website that has a up-to-date blog, and we do events as well, which again, it's a smaller scale, but it's about building that community and explaining who we are and offering support and advice.
Yeah, I mean, your blog site is amazing that you really delve into exactly why this is such a different product, to really educate your customer. But I think people are becoming more aware or being a little bit more conscious of the kind of products they're buying nowadays. So for those kind of people, this is kind of like the answer to their problems, especially around something that they may not even think about as there are alternatives, because when you think of condoms, you just think of your regular condoms. You don't think about the other things that can possibly affect you, like you said, like the problems, with irritability and things like that. So it's really good to see that there are alternatives for people. So in terms of, you said that you have a blog and you produce content on there. What does that look like in terms of in your business? Who do you have writing your blogs, or do you do it yourself? I mean, how do you come up with the content that you want to be putting out there?
Yeah, so a bit of both. And I do some of the kind of medical content. We have sometimes freelancers support us with that, but also we have a marketing girl who's great, and she does some content for us as well. So we share it around. We listen to feedback. We've also got a forum called Hanx Life, and on it's kind of open for people to talk about anything and everything around relationships, consent, female health, pleasure, whatever it is. And we sometimes have things that come up and we think actually people want to be talking about X or whatever it might be. So let's do a piece on that so we can educate our audience. So it comes, and events, sometimes we get kind of content or ideas through what comes out of events. So yeah, a bit of both really, or whatever's topical at that time.
Yeah. So you're actually doing what most marketers are meant to do in terms of listening to their customers, listening to potential customers of what the needs are. And I think it's great that you have this forum. Can you tell us a bit more about what this forum is and why it's so important for you guys to have one?
Yeah, and so we kind of say it's like mum's net without your mum, or red sexual wellness. So it's, yeah, you log in and you can be anonymous if you'd like. Not use your real name if you want to stay anonymous, but you have a profile and you can just start threads or get involved in threads. And there's kind of a whole host of different topics what kind of stuff on there. So people might want to ask something about a relationship advice, or see if there's anyone out there that's had similar experience in, recurrent crush, or there have, it might be health related, or it might be relationship, or kind of sexual pleasure, or whatever it might be. People can start their own threads, or kind of get involved and start talking to others on there about whatever it is they've initiated. So it's just doing what we set out to do, and kind of having a safe, open space for people to kind of talk about these things that are a little bit seen as taboo sometimes. And our sex education in schools is getting better, but it was never great. And so there's kind of a gap there in knowledge and gaining kind of real insight into sexual health, really.
So, I mean, your brand is mainly focused towards women. Do you have any guys in your forum as well?
Yeah, we're mainly women on the forum, but we do have guys, and we're totally, open to any gender, really. Everyone should have access to good sexual health and positive sexual well-being. So it's for everyone.
That's great. So, I mean, given the current circumstances that we're in, let's just put that aside. I know that's quite difficult, but what would a typical day look like for you in terms of, what your day looks like with working with Farah and the team and getting out there and promoting your products and things like that?
Yeah, so every day is pretty different. At the moment, we're working remotely, so it's very much a lot of calls and kind of online meetings. But if we were out of the COVID, it would be, I would be heading into the co-working space, catching up on emails, talking to press, or we've got marketing teams that help with our social media marketing, and we're on Amazon as well, so kind of managing those teams, talking to our marketing team about social content for the week, looking at upcoming events or podcasts, or content that we're creating, what are we doing in retailers and boots, going out to meetings, maybe talking to an investor, or meeting a potential investor, or to entice them to come on board. Yeah, really varied. Or we might be going to Boots to talk to our buyer there and see how things are going and how we can support them. Every week is pretty different. Yeah.
Do you find it hard to plan a social life around your work because of things being so different day to day, and it sounds like it's difficult to plan for anything in particular. How do you find balancing that, this whole work-life balance, especially as an entrepreneur, building your own thing? It's very, the boundaries get blurred sometimes. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, no, you're right. They definitely do get blurred. And I think, it's always a work in progress. I wouldn't say I'm definitely not perfect, but because a lot of our social calendar merges in with business in a way as well, events or panel talks. But I think for me, when coming from a really busy, stressful career, working in hospitals, that helped me manage my time better, and help me manage what was important to ensure I'm functioning. So I need to sleep, I need to exercise, I need to see the people that I love in my week. Otherwise, I won't be happy, and I won't do my job well. So I think it's kind of having that insight to like understand what for you what works, and for me they're the things that are important to me being functional. And social life is great, and sometimes that's probably the thing that takes the back seat. But there's, I'm always surrounded by people, and always have fun with work as well. So I think that's important.
Yeah, vitally important to have that kind of culture within your workplace, especially if it's your own and you're actually creating that yourself, to be able to, spread your vision and your passion for what you're doing to your other team members as well. And that can only happen in a healthy, open environment, I believe. So what for you then? What do you see like the future of your business? Where do you see it going? What dreams and hopes do you have for Hanx?
Yeah, I mean, we would love to be the kind of go-to sexual wellness brand for women and everyone, but we'd love mothers, aunts, daughters, friends to recommend our brand and to trust us in the space, and be a legitimate brand that they can relate to and that understands them.
And your brand, your business works slightly different from other sexual wellness brands, I would say, in terms of, you can buy your products online, but you offer a subscription service, don't you? How does that work for you?
Yeah, it's great. We've got a fair few subscribers. So we basically, people can decide if they want, condoms or lubricant delivered to their door each month, each week. It's very flexible. They can pause a subscription. They can delay for a month. They can, increase, decrease, whatever is needed. So we want to be as flexible as possible. And actually, people on the pill have the pill every month, but why shouldn't, if you're using condoms regularly, especially if it's your primary form of contraception, then you'll need them each week, month.
Yes, there's nothing worse than getting to the point where you're ready to get to it and you realize you're out of condoms. So having something that is delivered to your door on a regular basis, that's kind of like takes that one bit of stress out of your life of not having to worry about it. It's there for you when you need it. So what if you could leave people with a message from the kind of work that you're involved in, like what would be your biggest message that you want to leave people with?
So I think when we think about well-being, we think about our mental health and well-being, but sexual well-being doesn't really often form part of that. But actually, it's so important, and it influences our physical health, our mental health, and psychologically, it's important as well as physically. So I think what I'd like people to remember Hanx for is really opening the conversation around positive sexual health and making that more accessible.
That's cool. So, in this industry of not just sexual awareness and sexual health, but in terms of products that are kind to humans, kind to the planet and other, creatures that we share it with, who else in the space do you kind of look to say, yeah, they're doing a great job at this, and kind of you see it as making a big difference in this world in terms of e-commerce?
I think recently, obviously with the coronavirus outbreak, I think has made me really look at the healthcare. There's some really amazing ones. So Thriver Healthcare, they do kind of blood tests to your door. So again, it's allowing people to have a bit more insight into their health, but also tracking whatever bloods that they might need to track. And so they're a really cool e-commerce company. They send blood testing kits through the post, and again, it's something that we need more and more of, and they're doing a great job too.
Oh, that's great. So if people want to find out more about Hanx and either get their subscription sorted or even join the forum, where can they find you?
Yeah, so we're online at hanxofficial.com. All of our social media handles are Hanx Official as well, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and our forum is Hanx Life.
Hanx Life. Okay, that's great. And do you publish any kind of other than what's on your blog? Do you create any content in terms of like free guides or anything like that people can opt in for? Do you have anything like that?
Not yet, but we're definitely looking into it. I'm actually co-authoring a guide on herpes, which is delightful. There's always stuff that people are kind of needing more information on around sexual health. So yeah, I mean, definitely something to look for in the future. But at the moment, it's mainly through our blog.
That's amazing. So we'll look forward to seeing this guide from you. That'll be great for people to get a little bit more information, and in a way that is not stuffy and all too clinical. I would assume because your brand is the way it is, I would imagine it's a very accessible. You're going for accessibility and simplicity, I would think.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a great thing to look forward to. Thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks so much, Sarah, for having me.
You've been listening to the Business of Universal Kindness podcast with me, Sarah Henson. If you enjoyed the show, then please subscribe and leave a review so that more people can find it and join us on this journey. Find the show notes and more episodes of this podcast at sarahhenson.co.uk/podcast. Music is by Studios On It from Audio Jungle.